Namaste everyone. Very warm welcome to Satsang today's Sadhguru Shri Mujiji ki Jai. So, while we give the transcripts team a break from transcribing, before we jump into the next scripture book, how should we use this time? How do I get you to see what already is? That's the whole thing. No matter which book, which scripture, what words from Satsang, it's all about what is already here. So I can say, yes, let's say like this. I say, walk 100 meters and then take a right, and then you start to jog a bit. Take a right turn, then you jog. Then jog for 100 meters, and then when you take this right turn, you start really running, sprinting. So sprint now for 100 meters, and then take this right, you're running out of your skin, full gusto, and do that 100 meters. You'll get there. Right turn, take a right turn, take a right turn. Where do you land up? Where you started. So all spiritual instruction, all spiritual pointing ultimately is like this. Just to get you in that space of openness where you can look at what already is. Who is that is already here? What is it that you are right now? Before you take on this task of looking, who is hearing these words? Can you turn off this perception, this hearing? Even if you close your ears and you say, I hear nothing, at least you hear that silence, isn't it? Even that is heard. The sight is happening on its own. You are distinguishing all these colors and various textures. Did you decide to do all this? Did you make an intention of seeing? And even if you were to close your eyes, you will see this darkness. You are not empty of seeing. So this perception is happening on its own. Who is doing all of this? This is your consciousness, your being. As the Buddhists would say, the unborn mind. It's already here. Now what we do is we exchange this for a concept. We exchange this for a notion. Whatever the notion might be, that notion, when believed, becomes the notion of the individuality, the birth of, from the unborn mind comes this seeming entity, this person. So what is the pointing you need now? What is the recognition? Only this. That which already is enough. Everything is taken care of in this already. That which perceives all of this, that which conceives all of this, that which exists effortlessly, does not need a concept or a thought to now exist. its existence will not become better. In fact, in the play, it seems like it actually becomes worse. In actuality, nothing happened to existence. But in the play, only when we have a notion about ourselves, only when we have a concept about ourselves, can we play this game as if we are suffering. So suffering can exist only when we exchange this beingness, pure beingness, for a concept. Yesterday, there was a cricket match on here. In India, there's a cricket match. So my son and I were watching. And I rarely speak anything from Satsang with my son. Only few times I found him open enough to hear. So yesterday we were cruising, as it is beat Australia in the cricket series. So we were cruising along, going well. My son says, I want Kohli to come, who's the Indian cricket team captain, Virat Kohli. I want him to come and I want him to make a century. So I told him it is want which leads to suffering. What do you mean? I say, if it as it is happens and the century happens, then you will experience the joy of it anyway. But unless you want that want, unless you believe the idea it should happen this way, you cannot find a way to suffer. Everything is fine as is, except when we say that it should be my way. In Satsang, I've often said that, not for a while actually, I've said that you can either have a master or you can be Frank Sinatra singing My Way. It cannot be both. If you have a way, then you don't have a master. Having a master means to surrender. There's nowhere to get to. What is it that you are already? What does it mean to remain with this? It only means that don't exchange this or don't value a notion more than your presence. Don't value a concept more than what is. Abidance is as simple as that. Cannot try to abide. The trying itself is the non-abidance. Here you are. How did you get here? You just are. You exist. That is the greatest miracle. Your existence. Is it? But because it always is, whenever there is a always, we should say, whenever there is time, this is. Therefore, we take this for granted and we feel like something about an expectation or a judgment or an idea or a goal, an ambition is worth more than your own God presence. Whether you call it God presence or Krishna consciousness or Buddha mind, it's the same thing. And now I'm speaking to all of you. How do I know that this is true? Because it is always this way. No matter what way you got here, which path you took, whether you followed self inquiry, whether you surrendered, whether you followed any religious path, whatever practices you might have done, there is only one thing which is constant, and that is your existence. Nothing else is needed. Just this much is enough. To recognize your existence, just that you exist is enough. Do you want me to put together various elaborate plans and directions as to how you can get here? No matter what the path is, no matter what the directions are, no matter what the pointing is, it is always only about this which you are here and now. So when the master says that the person is the seeming problem, what does it mean? That only this, when consciousness, your being itself, picks up a notion about itself, I am something. This idea of somethingness, that I am a thing, is the root of all suffering. There is no suffering unless you pick up a notion. What better news can there be? Does your existence need something right now? Does it need to understand this? If you know 10,000 concepts about spirituality, you're no better off than one who is empty of all of these notions. So that moment of insight which I speak of is that moment where you put down all notions about yourself and come into this pure seeing, uncontaminated by your judgments, uncontaminated with your ideas about how it should be, just what is. here as unassociated consciousness. Everything is exactly as it is. I don't even want to say everything is perfect, because even perfect does not describe it well. What is just is. If there is something to wonder about, if there is something that is not clear, is how come consciousness is not rejoicing in its own existence. But even that is exactly how it should be, or it is. You exist, and your existence is already all there is. What are you trying to gain? Who are you trying to become? Are you trying to become God plus plus? Because God is all there is. You cannot think it. You cannot know it mentally. You cannot feel it emotionally. It's just this insight now. That seeing, which goes beyond phenomena. Actually, the truth is, I cannot tell you how to do this. I cannot tell you how to do this. What I can tell you is that everything else that you're holding on to is nonsense. And when you let go of all these concepts, you will see that it is so simple. It is your own innate existence, your own innate original nature. You're not becoming the being. Being is playing the game of becoming personal. So if I kick away all these personal notions that you have, and if you're open enough to let me do that, then I don't need to explain anything to you at all. I am your existence does not need any amplification with a concept. Don't exchange anything for this simple, unassociated presence. Get a taste of your own Atma, your own being. I have some questions here. I'll look at them now. How did this seeming journey drop away for you, Father? How does insight arise? clearly cannot be willed or desired. So, what is to be understood? Why this lifelong feeling of separation? So this question can be looked at in two ways. The less important way is the circumstances in which all of this happened, whatever happened here. The less important is the circumstances. The more important is this that I am about to tell you. Right now, in this very moment, we are the same. The only seeming difference will happen because here, how it seems to play now is that most motions are allowed to come and go. And mostly in the world, that does not seem to be the play. So then the question comes, so when will I also be like this, where I will allow all these notions to come and go? When? Now. You cannot plan to do this. Like I said, you cannot walk on a path to this. This itself is that. There is no fundamental difference between you and me. There is only existence here. It is this existence itself, this consciousness itself, which chooses to drop these notions or chooses to continue to play with them. Now, either you are this consciousness or you are subject to it, isn't it? These are the two positions we can take in the worldly play. We'll come to the ultimate position in a minute. In the worldly play, either you are this consciousness or you are subject to it. If you are this consciousness, if you are this being, then see that you don't have to believe what this mind is telling you about yourself. This power of belief is also your child, your own creation. Everything phenomenal operates only under your will. And if it still feels like the second position is true, that I am a smaller entity which operates under the higher force called consciousness, and if consciousness is all powerful, then leave everything to consciousness. And when the mind comes and says, no, you must get it, you must do this, whose problem is it? Consciousness. Either way, remain empty of these notions. Because to hold on to ideas about yourself and to find this freedom is literally what I say about trying to board a plane, keeping one foot on the ground. Doesn't sound comfortable. Now we say, for example, you say there's this lifelong feeling of separation, and that doesn't sound like fun. It sounds like suffering, isn't it? Lifelong feeling of separation. So it definitely sounds like suffering. So if going according to the mind's way, we have experienced this lifelong feeling of separation and suffering. Now try it my way. We've given our whole life to the mind. Give me a few moments. Have you noticed how the mind is so full of contradictions? It will say, okay, but if I let go, you see, how do I know my life will not be a mess? And then, just 2 minutes before this or 2 minutes after this, I'll say, please help me, Master, my life is a mess. So if it is already a mess because of the mind, what do you have to lose? So we can say to answer simply, the simple change, the simple difference that happened here is that what the mind was trying to convince consciousness, the mind was trying to sell the notion of individuality, that started being laughed at. That which you have taken to be your master, which is this mind, has been nothing but a stand up comic. And if you really objectively, openly look at what the mind is telling you about yourself and compare it with the reality that you are now tasting about yourself, you will say that it is just a joke. Anybody see these? Anybody as old as I am or older would have seen these old Charlie Chaplin movies. Huh? I've seen those old Charlie Chaplin movies, black and white comedy. But you see how much he falls, how much he hurts himself, how much all these physical antics of comedy. If you were to watch it seriously, and you would wonder, oh, what is happening to this poor man? He's getting slapped around, he's falling, you see, he's getting up again and then he falls down again. It is because we know it is a comedy that it becomes fun. So you see that all of this is the divine comedy. Divine comedy? The play or poem? There's something, no? The divine comedy, very famous. So this lila, this play is a comedy. Like the Shakespearean Much Ado About Nothing.
Long narrative poem by some Italian
Dante.
Dante.
Okay, so this much is seen, it is clear, it is recognized that what already inherently, innately is here has no trouble. It's clear. That which is innately is no trouble. Then your question is what to do with the notions that come, isn't it? Then the only question that can come is what to do with these notions that come. And I have said that they become a comedy. And I have also said why they become a comedy or why they become funny is because compared to what you really are, they seem now ludicrous. You have outgrown that play. In the inquiry, who am I? It is your own consciousness, your own being, which is recognizing where it comes from. When you ask yourself, what is aware of even this presence? What is aware of my existence? Your existence is coming to the recognition of its own source, that which has remained unchanged, unborn. As you are making this simple discovery, of this primal witnessing, that for which there is no up or down, past or future, likes or dislikes, desires or aversion. doing and not doing. None of this applies to you. You are seeing this for yourself. Then, when the mind comes and tells you, hey, you better do this, and if you do this, then you'll have enough of this printed paper in your pocket. Will you not laugh at the comedy? It is so far from what you are discovering about yourself. You will never exchange your truth for another bundle of flesh and blood, all kinds of fancily printed paper and metal and plastic these days. What is it worth to that which is beyond time and space? So as you're making this recognition about yourself, when the mind comes and makes you these offerings, how do you, if you go to a restaurant and they tell you, all we have today is your favorite brands of Cerelac. You know Cerelac? Gerber foods for baby food, Farex, all the brands that I'm aware of. They come and say we have this baby food, all these options of baby food, mashed uh, banana with something, 100 milliliters of milk. Will you not go to this restaurant and laugh? So there was a time where these things would have been the most attractive. A bottle of lactogen and dangled in front of a baby, even a baby reaches out for it. Now these, the mind's offerings become like that. Baby food, you have lost your taste for them. So as you're coming to the recognition of yourself, the mind's offering now seems more and more insipid or funny. The mind can only make phenomenal assumptions. See what happens if you ask the mind, what will happen when I'm free? The mind will give you phenomenal conclusions. You will always experience joy. You will always have a smile on your face. You will not need to sleep. Your body will never get sick. Your car will never break down. See, all of these are ideas of enlightenment according to the mind. What you're recognizing about yourself is that it is not any of that. Just to see your reality as the unchanging self, which the mind cannot fathom. And so I say that as you allow yourself to remain empty of notions, the insight is inevitable. As this insight is happening, then the notions, the offerings from your mind, will seem as meaningful as baby food to you. Of course, to a baby it is.
Who likes it like?
Hmm?
Who likes it like?
Huh?
Sri Lanka.
Settle. Some grown-ups do actually. Guruji says that Satsang is the rehab for God, by God Himself. Imagine that your addiction was to baby food. Anything that you could want in the realm of time and space must presume that you are an object in time and space. Anything that you fear, anything you feel should not happen in the realm of time and space, also must presume that you are just an object in time and space. Before your mind comes with reasons for why you haven't got it, or reasons about how you have got it, what is it that you are? Before you take a position about anything at all, what is it that you are? Before you go for and against, who are you? The mind will only understand the two opposites. Even with what is being shared in satsang, it wants to take a stance. Yes, yes, or no, no. Judging, confirming, doubting. Before all of this, who are you? come to this quietude, the truest silence is the simple allowing. And remember that allowing is not a position. It is not that which is the opposite of resistance. It is that which is not opposed to anything at all. It is not being open or closed. It is empty of even that intent. You're not trying to be open, not trying to be natural. Know that your favorite notions will never match the light of your being. This, what I've been speaking about in all of Satsang, this unborn presence, this consciousness unassociated with limited notion of itself. No matter what you append after I am, can never match the grace of I am, the light of I am.
The taste of experiencing how it is experienced.
The, you could say that, but beyond the, like a taste of taste, just the presence of presence. The I am that I am. This recognition of this being. A million of your favorite notions do not match up to this moment of being. Did we say we are giving the transcript stream a rest? You all must feel like I live on a beach or something. Every day I'm having these coconuts. Maybe it gives the wrong idea to have these coconuts and such. Because everyone coming to Bangalore might expect it to be a very nice, quiet place with the ocean and coconut trees. And then you land in Bangalore. What? That's why we make sure that you keep hearing the traffic noise and everything also. So you don't get the rude shock of arriving here to all of this. I'm just making sure anything I say now is not highlightable or transcribable. And Nitya, Maya, everyone gets some rest. Actually, I feel like after today's satsang, for 1 week, my only pointing should be Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. Sadhguru Shri Muji Ji ki Jai.
Sadhguru Shri Ananta Ji ki Jai.